What's up, and welcome to episode 78 of Throwback Hoops. My name is Rob Clayton, and joining me as always is my brother from another mother, Woody V.
What's good, Robbie? Good to be here, man.
Great to have you, mate. I know we've been really looking forward to this episode. So just before we introduce our special guest, just a reminder where to find us. We're on YouTube and where all podcasts are found. Please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe. All right, Woods. So this week we have another very special guest. This man was born in Yonkers, New York, and went on to star at Canterbury High School in Connecticut, and then played college ball at Sacred Heart University and Southern New Hampshire. After graduating college with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, he went on to play professionally in Malta and Luxemburg before arriving in Sydney this year to play with the mighty Hills Hornets in the NBL1 East. It is our absolute pleasure to welcome Shawn Montague to the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure's all ours, mate. I know we've been talking about this over the last few games, and it's been really nice getting to know you with these games so far, and I'm looking forward to hearing your story about how you sort of found your way to Australia tonight. So, all right, well, as I mentioned, Shawn, we do like to sort of wear something and talk a little bit about what we're wearing there. So I can see you've got a special jersey on there. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about
that? As of right now, I got a national team American hockey jersey. Specifically Patty Kane, left winger. Being from America, as I travel around the world to play basketball, I like to still rep the country where I'm from. I wear this a lot sometimes to practice, to games and stuff like that. It's just country pride, and I just take it everywhere with me. I took it to Malta, I took it to Luxembourg. It just reminds me a little bit of home, where my family's at, and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a keepsake.
Very cool. I'm not a massive hockey fan, but he played for Chicago and then he plays for New York.
Yes, yeah. He got traded to New York this mid-season.
That's right.
Unfortunately, the Rangers' season was cut short in the playoffs. So similar to the Knicks, we got to regroup and get back for next year.
Nice. And obviously you guys just call it hockey, right? Whereas out here we'd always refer to it as ice hockey because we've got field hockey as well. But, it's just hockey for you guys. Yeah. All right, awesome. I really appreciate that much, Shawn. Thanks for making the effort and rocking something to show us there. So, Woods, I can see you wearing a bit of a jersey of a legend there. Why don't you talk to the viewers and show us what you're wearing today? So, Woody's standing up, rocking the classic number 8, LA Lakers, Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace.
Great jersey.
And, I got the Lakers hat as well. We're Atlanta Hawks fans, Shawn, but, if I'm representing Kobe today, I thought I'd wear the Lakers hat. Normally, I'd go through a big spiel and talk about what he's achieved and what he's done. But I know having you on the show, you're a big fan of Kobe, someone that you looked up to as you were growing up. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about how much Kobe means to you?
He means a lot. Rest in peace to one of the best basketball players to ever live. I have a good story. My uncle used to work at Madison Square Garden when I was about 5 or 6 years old. So prior to that, my favorite player was Kobe Bryant. I watched him play a few times when I was younger. So my uncle, my father, and I went to Madison Square Garden to catch a game. Lakers were in town to play the Knicks, and I didn't know afterwards that I was going to meet him. I had the opportunity to meet him when I was younger, and I took a picture. I sent it to Robbie a few days ago.
Great photo.
Yeah, it's one of the best pictures of my life. And so I got to meet Kobe Bryant, Shaq, and all the Lakers. But from a basketball standpoint, I just admire his work ethic, his determination, his fearlessness and confidence on the court. It's truly admirable for any basketball player aspiring to be a basketball player, a current basketball player. Just his mentality, he did whatever it takes to help the team win, to be successful, and any basketball player should model their mentality or how they carry themselves after Kobe Bryant. So, as I said, rest his soul, but he was a wonderful player and an even better player to look up to and get me into basketball, really. So, yeah.
And Sean, it's interesting you mentioned that. There's so many people that he's had that influence on. He's an icon. You talk about Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. These are certain guys that, changed the culture of the game, and the impact they had is everlasting. And I remember 2020, I was at my brother's, bachelor party, right? And we were all drinking, having a great time. And someone came to me like 3 a.m, said, Kobe died. And I was out of it. And I woke up in the morning. I go, was that a dream? Did that actually happen? And I looked on my phone and shocked, almost like this is a joke. And I had to look up multiple articles on my phone. Is this real or is this just, fake? This didn't really happen, did it? And you weren't the same. But it's like when Tupac died, it's similar to that, right? You felt the same way, right? And it was just amazing. Taken too soon from us. But his legacy will live on. His daughter as well, and all those people on that helicopter. It's just a tragic story, but I guess the impact that he had is going to be forever lasting, and all the tributes and respect that he's had since is testament to the kind of not only great basketball player, but the man he was as well, right?
Hey, Woods, I think for, big basketball fans, especially like the three of us, it's one of those things you're always going to remember where you were when you found out that tragic news. I remember it so clearly myself. But, yeah, no, it's nice that we could sort of pay a little bit of a tribute, and great hearing Shawn's story. How old were you at that time when you got the photo with Kobe there?
I was 6 years old.
Oh, wow. Jeez, I bet you were excited that day, right?
Yeah, I was very excited. I remember he wasn't looking at me. He didn't know I was there, so I kind of hit him on the leg. He looked down and smiled and took a picture of me. So
he looked pretty happy in the photo, so that was good to see as well.
Yes.
But, yeah.
So that's what 2003-4, sometime around there, right?
So
that would have been the Peyton, Malone, Shaq, and Kobe team potentially, right? Yeah.
Yes, I believe. Yes, and Marjorie and those guys.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, good stuff, Woods. All right, well, I'll talk a little bit about my one. So, Shawn, I've got a pretty crazy jersey collection, so I try and show off 2 each episode there just to try and sort of get through the collection.
Stop showing off, man. Just go showing off.
Yeah, I've got a lot. But I thought I'd show a Knicks one behind me there just in honour of Shawn being a Knicks fan. So, yeah, hanging this week is a Julius Randle blue Knicks jersey. Look, as you know, Woody, Randle is absolutely one of my favourite players, has been for quite a few years now. I think he's one of those players, he gets hated on quite a bit, I reckon, which considering he's been an all-star, he was an all-NBA player again this year, I think possibly a little bit harsh there. I just really like the versatile game that he's got, and just pleased to see the success that he's having at the moment. So that's just a little bit of a story on Julius Randle there. But wearing a very special jersey today, so I'm going to stand up and show that. I'm sure Shawn will enjoy seeing this one, but I'll just show you what I'm wearing today.
So for all our audio listeners that can't see, Robbie's wearing a Hills Hornets jersey. And I got a question to ask, Shawn. Why don't you have your names on the back of your jerseys, right?
I don't know. I'm not sure. That's a good question.
I'm going to make that my mission to try and make that happen for next season.
Yeah.
I agree. It does look good when you've got it. But look, I thought I'd just tell a little bit of a quick story about this jersey, and then also a little bit about what the Hills Hornets and the association in general means for me as well, there, boys. So I'll try not to bore you too much. But well, this week the jersey I'm wearing is a special NBL1 First Nations jersey that the team wore in round 11 during First Nations round. The jersey was designed, as it also was last year, by Tanya Eastwood, who's an amazing Indigenous artist. So really like the way she's designed this. I think it's just got some great colours and stuff like that. Would have loved to have got the number 5 on the back of this, but it didn't have the option and just had to get the blank jersey there. But as I said, I just wanted to talk a little bit about, I guess, what playing at Hills has meant to me. It's a relationship that's now well over 30 years. So I started playing in local comps in 1990, showing my age a bit there, Shawn. So that was when Hills played in Dural and Parklea. I also played on some Hills Hornets rep teams in high school before playing in the very first competition at the Hills Basketball Stadium. So that was built and opened in the mid-90s. So played the very first week that stadium was open there. I've also been the captain / manager of our local team for as long as I can remember now. And look, still playing each week and really enjoying it. Playing with some great mates, including, of course, Woody, who I love playing with each week there. And lastly, just like to say how honoured and grateful it is to be one of the two Hornets NBL1 commentators. So since they've joined the NBL1, I've called every single home game that they've been involved in there. And yeah, they've definitely sort of become a bit of a family to me now. So I kind of I feel the wins and I feel the losses as well now, Shawn. So if you guys lose, I go home in a grumpy mood now, and if you win, I go home on a high. So looking forward for that to continue. So all right, well, really appreciate that, fellas. I like hearing the stories about the two jerseys there and a bit of a trip down memory lane. So all right, well, as Woody likes to say, we're going to chop it up now and sort of get to know Shawn a little bit more now and sort of talk a little bit about his journey. So, Shawn, I'll start off with a question we kind of like to ask a lot of our guests. So, firstly, I guess, what was it like for you growing up in Yorktown Heights, New York? And who were your early influences getting into basketball?
Where I'm, as you said, I'm from Yorktown Heights, New York. It's a part of Westchester County, similar to what you guys call suburbs, maybe. It's about an hour, give or take, from New York City. So it's very quiet. Not much going on compared to what goes on in New York City. You know, hustle, bustle, bunch of noise, a lot of stuff going on. But I also have family down there, so I was always down there whenever we needed to be. But I enjoyed it. I have a bunch of friends there, and I have a bunch of friends there, and they got me to baseball and basketball. I grew up playing sports within my school, and you know, I just made a lot of friends. So very grateful to grow up in Yorktown Heights, New York. And prior to basketball, I played baseball. I was a really good baseball player. I played basketball for fun, but I didn't really take it too seriously as I did baseball. Um, but as I got older, my father's actually the all-time leading scorer at his school, Manhattanville College, with almost 2,000 points, 1,855.
Nice.
So I wanted to be like my dad in every aspect of life, but mostly basketball. So he inspired me to pick up the ball and take it seriously. Um, and I haven't looked back since. It's been one of the best decisions of my life. And also, as we said before, Kobe Bryant, at a young age, watching him play basketball was truly amazing and inspiring. And I didn't really click into that eighth grade summer going into ninth grade, where I started to take basketball really serious. So.
When did you start sort of growing so tall? So, Shawn, so obviously people that don't know you, you're around 6'6", I think. I think I'm about 6'4", so you got me covered by a couple of inches there. But when did you sort of start? Were you sort of always one of the bigger kids, or was that a late sort of growth spurt for you there?
I definitely had a late growth spurt.
Okay.
And I just grew periodically over my high school years. And I found myself sitting at 6'4", 6'4.5", going into college. And then I wrapped it up being 6'6". So I was not always tall, but over high school I grew, and then I became as tall again.
Hey, and I'm not going to let that little comment that you said about your dad sort of going passing there. What sort of game do you think your dad had back in the day? He obviously had some pretty good game, right?
I think my dad was an athlete just like myself, maybe so better than me. I believe that's where I get my athletic talent and my jumping ability from my father. So Morty tells me he was a great mid-range shooter, but he was also probably relentless inside. Good scorer, and most importantly, an athlete just like myself. So I feel like I get that from my father.
Good stuff. Well, look, you've obviously mentioned, playing some of those other sports growing up, like baseball and everything, and having someone that you looked up to like Kobe. Obviously, we've mentioned you're a Knicks fan. How did that love of the Knicks sort of start there? And I'm assuming you probably got to a few games at MSG back in the day as well.
Yes. Just rooting for the New York teams. Supporting where I'm from. I'm a New York guy. Knicks, Yankees, Jets, Rangers. And also, I used to love watching Knicks play, especially during when Carmelo was here when he came over that team for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I've just been a Knicks fan ever since. It's been a rough few years so far, but these past few years have been exciting. Them getting to the playoffs, just the buzz they bring when they make the playoffs, because they don't make it often. So every time the Knicks are doing well or get into the playoffs, it's always a great atmosphere in the city, and it's just always nice to see them do well.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so
We'll talk a little bit more about the Knicks later. I'm looking forward to that.
definitely.
As well. Yeah.
So obviously very patriotic towards your country as well as your city. So that's nice. I like to see that, Shawn. So let's talk a little bit about you after you finished high school ball in Connecticut. You went on to play at a few different colleges. Was it a case of you trying to find the right fit for you? And what was the college experience like for you?
Um, from a basketball standpoint, it was tough to start because I began at Cigar as a freshman, and I didn't play much at all, especially in the beginning of the season. But towards the end, I gained a few minutes. Um, as you said, it was just a matter of a fit, and
Yeah.
it's hard because in high school I always had the ball. I was the go-to guy on my high school team. And then you go to college, and these guys are much older, and much more polished and established. So it was more so finding a fit, but also adjusting to um, the speed of the game, how strong these guys are, and
Yep.
just those aspects. So um, I finished my year at Sacred Heart, then I went to junior college before Southern New Hampshire. I went to junior college for a year because I didn't play enough to transfer D1 to D1, have good enough stats to do so. So that's what people like myself go to JUCO and try to
Yep.
reestablish themselves and, try to make film and go back to D1. But fortunately enough, I found a school, Division II, Southern New Hampshire, and
Yep.
I feel like that was my best fit going there. I was there for 2 years. Then I graduated, but it was more so of a finding a fit and adjusting to college basketball. It's much different from high school basketball.
Hey Sean, I found some of those college highlights today on one of the websites there, and you'll have to. I should send you the link as well. What it is about goes for about 7 or 8 minutes. I think your agency put it together, and some really nice highlights there. I enjoyed watching that there. But just wanted to go back to the high school team. Did I read rightly that Donovan Mitchell played at that
No,
same high school?
he did go to that school for,
Hmm.
I believe, a year or two, but then he
Right.
transferred as I was coming. So I
Okay.
was never teammates with him.
Okay. Sure. So you replaced him, right? Yeah.
at first it's my sophomore year was sort of a struggle, like adjusting, but then the next year we won the championship, so it turned out to be a good decision for myself.
Good stuff. So, well, look, after finishing, that college experience you just spoke about there, Sean, you ended up playing overseas in Malta and Luxembourg. So, probably not two countries we immediately think about when we're thinking about basketball. But talk to us about what it was like playing in those two countries.
Um, as you know, I started in Malta. It's similar to junior college. You go there, you go to a league where you just try to reestablish yourself, and especially it was during the time of the pandemic. This pandemic was still at large, was still affecting people. So I was blessed enough to get that opportunity to reestablish myself and make good film and stats, and to further my professional career. So I played there for 6 months. Um, and it was a good start. I made good film, had good stats there, and I met a lot of great people, which is even the best part for myself. Traveling the world, seeing other parts of the world that I I get the opportunity to do so, um, and it was great. It was a perfect situation for me because I had a great year and um, struggling to find an agency during the pandemic, during lockdown and stuff. So um, it was great, great learning experience as well. Um, so I played there for 6 months, and then I went back home to rehab a knee injury most of the summertime, and then Luxembourg. I got the opportunity to play in Luxembourg in the beginning of August. I took that contract and I flew out there 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, um, and I was only there for a month and a half. It didn't really work out there. Um, uh, the team and I decided to just go separate ways. So it wasn't really a fit on what they were looking for. Therefore, then I went back home, and I was home for about 2 or 3 months before the Hills Hornets made a call looking for an import. Thankfully, um, I was on the phone. I first spoke to my agent about it. Then as talks got as we started talking more, I spoke to Mr. Burke, Steve Burke, Mr. Christy Graham, and a few others on video chat before I officially signed, and I came in February. And it's been a great decision I made. Um, it's I love it here. I love everything about this organization, and I felt even though Malta was great, I had never been a part of something so special like as the Hills Hornets. I just like just a family based organization.
Definitely.
Um, with teaching skills to little kids from how they how they present themselves at home games and how they do that. It's just amazing to be a part of, and also for the team to be doing as well as we're doing now. So yeah, that's been my journey so far.
Now, Sean, it's not just the organization. The whole Hills community is a beautiful part of Sydney, beautiful, beautiful part of the world. And just talking to you, and the humility that you've shown throughout your journey and what you've spoken about, learning along the way. For a kid coming out of New York to have the opportunity to go to Malta, to Luxembourg, land here in Australia, broaden your horizons, meet new people, it surely has been a terrific learning experience for you, as you mentioned. Now, what did you know about Australia before coming here, by the way? Did you know much about the place? And out of all the places in Australia to come, not Darling Harbour, not all the great spots, you came out here to the hills, man. So it's nice to have you. But what did you know before coming here?
Um, I knew Australia was very far, but I also knew you guys speak English. And,
Yeah,
culture very similar, but I always I always had this perception of Australia being like mostly the alpha, right, kangaroos walking aimlessly, unsupervised stuff like that. But it was totally different. Uh, I I find it very similar to the United States.
yeah,
Because in Europe there's a language barrier, which is tough. You go to the store and try to tell somebody what you want, but they really don't understand you too good. Um, but man, I love it down here. And I get to meet new people, learn new things, see different places with the help of just bouncing a basketball and getting the opportunity to do that for a living. So um, I really have no complaints about Australia or like or where I'm at or the hills. It's been a blessing. So I'm really grateful.
hey, this community is lucky to have you, man. We appreciate you doing all you're doing here. So thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've got to say, Sean, I found out a little bit before they made it official that they were signing you. Just a little bit of a scoop I got there, and we were just so pleased. Obviously, you've seen that in a lot of the NBL1 teams that they've added, imports or sort of current NBL players. So it was great sort of hearing that you were coming here, and just to get to know you over these last few months has been really good. So we're going to talk a little bit about that NBL1 experience, but wanted to ask you before that, just how you're sort of finding it being away from home in the US. I know you mentioned to me offline a couple of days ago, your mum and dad are going to be coming here soon for a visit. I know you've got a sister and a brother back home as well, but yeah, how's everything sort of going away from family for you?
Everything's pretty good. My family supports me from miles away. Um, I, it's not my first time being away.
Mm.
My junior college is in Texas. New Hampshire's not too far from New York, but I'm kind of used to being away from home, especially in Malta, um, which is across the water. But I'm used to being away from home because this is what I want to do, and my family supports me to do that. So, but it's different from here because when I was in Europe, the time difference is only 8 hours or so.
Yeah.
Um, this it's almost 19, so I have to pick and choose when I get to talk to my family at the right time and hour. Um, so, but adjusting it's been fine. Not really hard for me because, as I said, I'm used to being away from home, no matter how far. And so, yeah, no trouble with that.
Hopefully you've warned your mum and dad about the flight time from New York to Sydney as well. So tell them to get a couple of books packed as well. It's a long trip there.
That is one long flight.
No, good stuff. Well, yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about your experience so far with the Hornets there, Sean. So currently, and I'll say we, as I obviously feel like I'm part of the team these days, but we're in 8th place in the NBL1 East with an 8-6 record. look, only probably a win away from maybe fifth place there. We let one really slide last week, didn't we, against Norths, up 15 at half time. Woody was at the game too. He was having a couple of beverages at the back and cheering the team on. But that was one of those ones that could have really propelled him up the ladder there. But so far this season, so Shawn, you're averaging 15 points and 8 rebounds, shooting 50% from the field, top 10 in the comp in steals. I think you've had around 14 steals in your last 14 games.
Yeah. Steals? Oh, man.
Yeah. So 14 steals in your last 4 games I've got there. So you're killing it on the defensive end there. But how are you finding the NBL1 East so far? The competition and just sort of, finding the games week to week?
I find it's a great league to be a part of. I knew of the NBL, of course, because they used to show their games. They used to show their games on ESPN, but it would always be on like 4 a.m. because of the time difference. But I didn't know what to expect from the NBL1 and NBL1 East specifically. But there's a lot of talent out there. There's a lot of talent in each team. Each game is has to be executed properly to win, from top to bottom. There's talent in every team. There's also physicality there, and it's a great league to be a part of. And and like I said, game in and game out, you have to prepare properly, and guys on the other side are coming to win just like we are. So, like I said, I didn't know what to expect, but with 8 games left, all I can say this is a great league. There's great players on every team, and I'm glad I got the opportunity to play here for my first year in NBL1.
Well, I'll tell you what a lot of imports, Shawn, don't expect when they come down here to Australia, whether it be at the NBL or the NBL1 level, is the way the game is officiated here, right? It's slightly different. And I know in those first few games, you got into a little foul trouble early. It took you a while to adjust to the way the game's called. Now you seem to have gotten over that. And how was that transition, and how did you adapt to that?
Yeah, so as you said, it was very frustrating. I would find myself on the bench first half, most in the beginning of the season, with foul trouble. Just not being in the right position, not knowing how the officials officiate, kind of using my hands too much. But as the season went on, I kind of adjusted to that. Just being in the right spot now, knowing where to be defensively. So in the beginning it was tough, but as the season went on, all the way to this point, I've adjusted pretty well. I don't find myself on the bench in the first half anymore, or at the end of the first quarter due to foul trouble. 2 fouls. I used to have 2 fouls at the end of the first quarter.
There's a lot of home games where that was happening early on, wasn't there? Yeah.
Comets, Newcastle. I think even Maitland. I had 2 fouls. So it was a struggle at first, but as of now, I find myself to be in the right spots where I need to be, and try to stay in the court as much as I can.
Nice. Well, Shawn, someone from Hills I've got a lot of time for is Coach Reece Potter there. So how are you enjoying playing under him, and what's the experience been like playing for Reece?
It's been great.
He's passionate, isn't he?
Yes, he's passionate, but that's what you want in every coach. Mm-hmm. And also every player wants a coach that believes in them and allows them to make mistakes and supports them when they do good. And that's what Coach Reece is about, especially for myself. He allows me to be myself, and he trusts in my abilities to make plays at the right time. And I couldn't ask for a better coach for my first year in NBL1. Him giving me the opportunity and believing in me to help this team and bring me here and give me opportunities to play. So, but man, he's a wonderful coach. Whenever I make a mistake, he's always there to correct me and pick me up, because I kind of sometimes I tend to get down on myself, and sometimes for mistakes or turnovers or something like that. But he's everything a player wants in a coach, and that's somebody who will coach them, try to help them whenever they can, but also believes in them, and every second they're on the court. And it's been a wonderful experience playing for Coach Reece and the Hills Hornets so far.
That's great to hear. Well, someone that Woody and I probably would consider a friend as well there, Shawn, is the coach of the youth league team, Terry TJ Johnson. Are you aware how good that guy was when he was younger? Has anyone sort of let you know his history yet? Or?
Yes. He a couple of youth leaguers
He
told
was a baller, I tell you. He
me
was an unbelievable player.
he did pretty good, right?
Whew, really good. Yeah.
He still can. He beats
Yeah.
me in competition sometimes, which kind of upsets me because I want to beat him. He's always talking.
Yeah.
But TJ's great, man. He helps me when he can. I know he has his own team to deal with.
Yeah.
Um,
He's doing a great job as well with that youth league team,
yeah,
isn't he? I think they've only lost one game all year.
shout out to that. Shout out to our youth league team, 13-1, coming up a
100%.
huge North win. I stuck around for that. That was a great game. It was like opposite our game, you know, back and forth, but they came on top, which is good to see. So
Nice.
it was awesome.
And a lot of your teammates obviously playing in that. You know, for those that don't know, I think there's a good 4 or 5 players that will back up and play 2 games on a weekend, playing for the youth league team and then for the NBL1 team. There's some really good young talented players. You know, just one I wanted to call out, obviously Saxon Orsini there. Those last couple of weeks, he's just been a massive part of your team there. His defense, man.
Yeah,
He comes
great.
out and he's just relentless on the defensive end. But, well, Shawn, something I wanted to ask you about, and obviously I've really, loved about commentating your games this season. It's when you get above the rim, right? So you actually had the number 1 play of the week in the entire NBL1 recently against Manly with that huge baseline jam. I got a little bit excited on the commentary for that one. I know we chatted about that before, but it made it all the better, right? But yeah, just wanted to ask you, talk to us about this part of your game. How much does it fire you up throwing down a big dunk like you do?
It fires me up because my bench, my bench loves it. If you, I don't know if you have access to the photos or not. James Photography,
Yeah.
the photographer, whether it's a 3 or a call our way or one of my dunks, my bench is always up, fired up, screaming, showing passion, energy, and that makes me feel good. It makes me want to do it again. So, and it's a great. I'm a part of a great team with a great group of guys, and just to see those pictures at the end of the game means a lot. And it's also I get to, that's a great feat for me to have that number 1 play. But the crowd was loud when it happened. It's just something for the crowd to see. Something exciting, something fun.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Shawn, if you'd have got that dunk to go in last week against Norths, I don't think we would have been talking player of the week. We could have
I was right there, man, having a beer right behind you.
that might have been NBL1 player of the year if you got that to go.
Word.
So
Word.
that next one there, you were very high. Did you ever win any sort of dunk comps in high school or college or any of those sort of things? Or?
No, I've never been a part of it.
So more like an in-game dunker, right?
Yes, I'm more of an in-game dunker.
Yeah.
I was so mad looking back at the tape. I don't know how I missed it. It just popped in and out, but I'm going to get another opportunity.
I'm sure you will. No, good stuff. Well, just wanted to ask you a little bit about, I guess, some of your Hornets teammates there as well there, Shawn. So who are you close with on the team so far? Who do you kick it with off the court? And I guess secondly, at the end of that, just wanted to ask what it's like playing with Liam Moss, who, of course, is just really one of the standout guards in the competition.
I couldn't be part of I couldn't be a part of a better team with the great teammates from top to bottom. I love kicking with all of them, always goofing around and messing with all of them. It's just a blessing to be a part of this team with a great group of guys. I really have no issue with them whatsoever. And when I first got here, they welcomed me. They didn't make me feel excluded whatsoever. So I'm incredibly thankful for that. How they accommodated me and to the team and leading me ever since. So I'm really part of a great team with great teammates. Hopefully to finish this thing out strong with these 8 games left. But as you said, Liam Moss, man, he's one of the better players I've ever played with. And to have him as a teammate is just incredible. You see what he does on the court, hitting shots, wherever it is on the court. He's crafty. He can create his own shot. It's it's truly amazing to see him what he does on the court. Whether if it's getting to the basket or breaking his man down for a pull-up J, or even getting to the rim, and he's able to use both hands. It's deceptive.
Yeah.
He can break you down and pull up for a J, or just bump you down and always get to the rim or the foul line. So
he had a pretty good block shot last week too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He did.
Made the top 10 plays of the week, I think. Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah. He's great. He's great.
I'll tell you what I like about Liam Moss, his swag as well, man. He's got the flyest earrings, nicest chain. When he's practicing, he's got to have all his swag on it. Just before he gets on the court, he takes his stuff off. So I like his swag, man. So, yeah. You got to look good as well, right? So,
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about your aspirations then, Shawn. I mean, recently they brought in a third import rule in the NBL, right? And often the first and second guy may be a fringe NBA guy or an up-and-coming, talent player. And that third one is filled by a bit of a role player. And that opportunity has allowed the NBL1 imports to get an opportunity to play at the higher level. Do you have aspirations to stay around in this country and potentially get a shot at the NBL?
I do. I do. I'm always looking to improve my game and get stronger in the weight room. But if the opportunity comes, that would be great. But in the meantime, I have a few things I need to work on for myself, whether if it's probably my shooting and probably getting stronger. When I go to the basket. Try to not be thrown around too much. So that would be my aspiration, just to be better every single day and try to be the best I can. And if that opportunity ever comes towards my way, it would be great, and that would be a great chance for myself to do that. But other than that, I'll just try to be focused on myself every single day. What can I be better at today?
I think I'd have mixed feelings if that happened. I've got to say, Woods, because I want to see him in the green there each week. But we wanted to sort of wrap up just a little chat before we go on to some NBA talk there, Shawn. Wanted to ask you what you like to do away from the basketball court. What sort of interests you away from the game there? And secondly to that, just tell me what you've seen in New South Wales since you've been here in terms of the sightseeing and seeing kangaroos and all those sort of things like that.
If I'm not playing basketball, I love music. I love listening to music, all types of music, hip hop, rap, rock, jazz, whatever I'm feeling at the time. I like to watch movies, TV shows, and just spending my time, relaxing, and just taking it easy, chilling. And I've been to Sydney a handful of times, I actually went with my good friend Caleb, who plays for Hornsby. He took me to Sydney a few times and went to a few restaurants, and I saw the Opera House. That's one I wanted to see, because every time something Australia related comes on the United States, they always show the Opera House. It's kind of a landmark. So it was amazing. It was amazing to see that. Sydney is a very nice city. And I've only been there a handful of times, so hopefully I get to go there a few more times and do different things. But, yeah.
I've got to say, Shawn, you mentioned the hip hop before as well. I've actually saw Wu-Tang playing in the Opera House a few years ago, which was just an amazing experience. And keeping on the hip hop theme, you told me the other night when we were having a chat, I asked where you were born, and you said you were born in Yonkers. What was that first thing I said to you after you said that?
The Locks.
The Locks, right? So they've always been one of my favourite groups there. Shout out to Jadakiss there. But yeah, were you a fan of them?
I do listen to them. Listen to them. There's actually a summer tournament back home, and Jadakiss was at Jadakiss was courtside, so nice. That was a big thing.
Did you put a show on for him or what?
I didn't play. I was
okay.
I was away. He was there, which is unfortunate, but it was packed out and it was a good time. So.
Awesome. No, I really appreciate the chat there, Shawn. There's so much more we could have spoken with, but I know, look, we said we wouldn't have you on all night sort of thing. We wanted to talk a little bit of NBA with you as well. So we might get into that, right, fellas? So at the time of recording, so it's Wednesday the 7th of June. So the NBA Finals are 2 games in, and it's a 1-1 lead now. So after the Heat had a great fourth quarter in Game 2. yeah, obviously, I'm sure you've both seen those first two games there, boys. What were your thoughts, and do you think Miami have a big chance now after getting that early road win? Well, maybe we'll start with you, Shawn, on that one.
Okay. I do think Miami has a big chance to win. I just admire how Miami Heat basketball culture. A bunch of undrafted guys just
Yeah.
gritty and getting after it. It was tough to watch against my Knicks. To watch them win 4 games out of 2. Um, but as a basketball fan, you have to admire how Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, those guys doing whatever they can to help the Heat win. And I really do think they can. Because most people have Denver winning it and Jokic and how deep they are, but if Miami can come together and especially with 2 games coming up at home, play together, hit shots down the stretch, I really think they can set themselves up for a 3-1 lead, going back to Denver. So that would be good for them.
That'd be big. How have you seen those 2 games, Woody?
Well, I told you, man, Bam Adebayo is going to have a big series, right? You doubted me, right?
Well. He started better than Caleb Martin has, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Bam, like, they can run the offense through him. He's great with, these dribble handoffs. He's great at making reads. And I think the way the Denver Nuggets play defense, he's been able to thrive, and he's doing enough. I'll tell you what, though, in that first game, you guys would have seen Aaron Gordon was just bullying Caleb Martin down low, right? And he had 12 points before the first commercial break. Joker had 5 assists. And so Spo, he went back to the drawing board. Let me get my man Kevin Love. And there's pretty much no one else on the bench for him to call on with a bit of size. Playing Caleb Martin at the 4 is difficult. So even though he's not the same guy he was before, he's still a power forward. He can still rebound well, and he can.
I was enjoying that Woods as well, right?
He's good. Yeah, he's good enough on the defensive end, and you know what? 10 rebounds, 6 points. He was able to make an impact there, and I think Spo's a great coach in making those changes. Those subtle changes that he's made throughout the playoffs has been great. And Denver's got to worry a little bit. Some careless fouls on 3-point shots from KCP and things like that, right? Cost them dearly down the stretch. And Miami, like, you're down by 8-10 points with a quarter to go. You still got to play against Miami, man. These guys want it really badly. So I think to what Shawn said, these undrafted guys, they've got a chip on their shoulder. They've got a point to prove, and they're not going to go away. This whole playoff run, we've been saying, no way they can beat Milwaukee. Knicks probably got this. Boston definitely got this, right? So, underestimate them at your own peril, man. You know what I mean?
100%. I hope it's a good series. I'm looking forward to Game 4. Obviously, it's on Saturday, so we're not going to be working that day and can actually watch that and enjoy it a bit. But I think tomorrow's a
hey,
really
Sean's got the weekend off, man. So this is something you can do. Kick back and watch the game on Saturday morning, right?
Of course, yeah. We should mention no NBL1 East this weekend. They started before a lot of the NBL1 competitions, so the East has got the whole weekend off. So maybe Shawn can watch that. You can go and see some kangaroos on the Opera House or something on another day or something like that. So, good stuff. Well, Shawn, we had to ask you a little bit about the Knicks before we wrap up today, right? So, I know obviously you mentioned going to some games at MSG when you were young. You mentioned Carmelo Anthony. Who else were you sort of fans of on those Knicks teams when you were growing up?
Especially, who can't be a fan of Jeremy Lin, Insanity? When that was a big thing.
Yeah,
and
man.
Watch, I remember that. Him hitting that game winner at Toronto really took it off.
Bang, right?
Yeah, that was great. Iman Shumpert, I liked how athletic he was for us and what he did for us. J.R. Smith, he used to fill it up. He was streaky, but he used to fill it up, and he was fun to watch. I used to watch Throwback Knicks, John Starks, those 90s Knicks, John Starks, Pat Ewing.
Charles Oakley, Anthony Mason.
Those guys, man, fun to watch. New York Knicks, man, I hope they turn it around soon, man. I really hope they do.
Well, talk to us a little bit about what you thought about them this season, Shawn. So obviously they had that second round exit at the hands of Miami that you mentioned there. Did you think it was a good season for them, and what would you think they maybe need to address in the off season?
I think it was a good season. For the Knicks to make the semifinals, I think it was a really good season.
Yeah.
Especially for Jalen Brunson, man, what a great player, filled it up every stat, mostly. Kind helped his team get to the semifinals. Him and Randle. But more so Brunson. They gave him all that money. People scrutinizing the Knicks. Too much, overpaid. Uh, a lot. That has to be a lot, especially in New York. Um, well, there's a lot of scrutiny going on in New York for all New York teams. So the pressure was on ever since the game one. And the way Jalen Brunson carried himself, carried the Knicks all the way to the semifinal, was great to watch, great to see. And it's good to know that we have 3 more years. But in this offseason, I think they need to address a few things. Shooting wise, we need more shooting on the outside. Um, RJ Barrett's going to be a conversation to have. Going
Definitely.
forward, whether things will be traded or not. And I heard the Knicks might be trying to move Randle, but
Yeah.
Hope not.
I hope not. I like Randle. I still do believe in Randle and what he can do for this team. But I do think the Knicks are missing that one piece, another key piece to this team to help us get to that conference final or even the final. So we'll see what the Knicks do. I'm excited for what they have in store. But I feel like free agents, uh, especially after the year they just had with the team we had, make it to the semifinals should be enticing and want them to be a part of. And I also want them to bring that Josh Hart. He brings that
Oh,
energy.
hell yeah.
Love Josh Hart. He's one of my favourites. He's really fit in well, didn't he? Yeah.
Absolutely. Ever since we made that trade, he brings that grit. What we need on the court. Always, whatever we need him to do, he'll do it. To hit a big shot when he needs to be. Guards the other team's best player. So I really hope they do bring him back and see what the Knicks do in the offseason.
He's an amazing rebounder for his size, isn't he, Josh Hart? He continually gets like double-figure boards in games and everything like that. So I was thinking they probably got a bit of a big board with all the names of left-handed players that they might sign. So obviously their best 3 players are all lefties there. So I'm not sure who else is out there that's a left-hander. Maybe Luke Kennard or someone like that. He's a good lefty. But
Well, Robbie, I'm going to be a bit controversial here. I don't always agree with what Stephen A. Smith says, but he's like, listen, man, RJ Barrett, he's got to step his game up, right? Randle, they're not going to win a championship with Randle as their second guy. They got to move on from him. They got to upgrade, get someone better to be the second guy, Otherwise, they're not going to go deep in the playoffs. I kind of agree with him. As much as you like Julius Randle, I just think to put alongside
what else do you want him to
Brunson,
do, though? Like, he's a third-team All-NBA player. He's an NBA All-Star. Like, what else do you
I
want?
know, I mean,
He's improved
but
his outside
he
play.
didn't step up when they asked him to step up in that series against Miami we talked about. He led the team down, right? So when the lights were shining, and they should have really won that series against Miami, right? I mean, Shawn will agree with me here, right? So I just think that they should move on from Randle. I know you don't like
Well,
that.
you remind me a little bit of Stephen A. Smith with like being controversial and a bit loud and everything else like that. So,
All right. And by the way, did you know Jalen Brunson's dad, Shawn, Rick Brunson, played right here in the NBL in the 90s?
For what team?
He played for
Adelaide.
36ers, yeah.
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 Lefty as well. Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
good point guard back in the day. So yeah, it was players like that. Now we sort of have that extra. Even like Ben Simmons' dad. Played here when Woody and I were growing up in the '90s. So all the sort of players now you're seeing the sons of these guys now, and it's quite exciting there. And Josh Green from Dallas there.
Yes.
Shawn, not sure. So he's obviously a Hills Hornets junior there. So his dad came out and was playing for the Hornets as their import in I think the mid '90s there.
Yep.
And obviously stayed here and ended up having Josh here. So yeah, it's a small world with how things work out there. But yeah, no, that's great. Well, mate, we've really appreciated the chat today. You've obviously been really generous with your time. So we'll just take it to a little bit of an outro now. Look, as I mentioned at the start of the show, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Just a reminder, we can be followed on Twitter at ThrowbacksHoops. We're on Instagram, throwback.hoops. And, of course, our email address is throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. Woody, do you want to give your shout-outs?
Yeah, look, I mean, please keep sending your emails through. I know we've had a lot of guests and things on the show recently, but we'll get to your questions and jersey requests when we can. Patreon, we really appreciate everyone who jumps online and pledges their support to us. It means a lot to us. So, yeah, that's it from me.
Good stuff. And what about you, Shawn? Are you sort of active on socials? Is there anywhere where people can find you, or is it more just tuning into the NBL1 app each week and and watching you play there?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. Search my name, it'll come up, Shawn Montague. I'm on Twitter, same thing. Facebook, same thing. So anybody wants to reach out, just hit me up on those. Yeah.
Awesome. No, really appreciate it. Well, yeah, looking forward to catch up again. Obviously, enjoy the weekend next week. I know you've got your mum and dad coming soon, which is going to be great for you. And looking forward to see you for that Bankstown game in a couple of weeks. Woods, I'll throw over for you for the last word. You got anything for us?
No, we really appreciate Shawn taking the time, and from the Throwback Hoops team, look forward to seeing you all next week.
Peace
Thanks
out.
for having me.